Hear that? That's the sound of someone trying to steal your crypto. Every day, thousands of hackers online are doing the same. That's why Arculus uses air-gapped cold storage technology to protect your assets. Using our keycard and wallet app to form a protective barrier, Arculus insulates you from hackers and puts control of your digital assets back in your hands. Order the first truly air-gapped crypto wallet at getarculus.com.
The Drive is brought to you on demand by Assignar Construction Operations Software. Visit keepbuilding.com for a free demonstration and see how much your business can save.
Thank you, Zach. Appreciate it. And Stoke, Nick Ferguson in for Tyler for the next couple of days. Good to see you, Nick. How are you?
Good, man. How about you?
I'm doing great. It felt today down at Dove Valley like real football. It felt a little chill. Smelled the fresh cut grass. Just, I love nice weather and all, but there's just something about a little something in the fall. It felt like that today.
Are you a sucker for nostalgia? That's what you're telling me?
Just like, it's been so warm, to be honest with you, for the vast majority of September. There's just something about a little something out there. Felt good. Feels good to look at the Broncos situation right now compared to the Ravens situation. I mean, what's your take on all these the injury stuff the Ravens are dealing with?
It's part of football. These things happen. Lamar Jackson isn't practicing again.
Not again, 2 days in a row.
Right. So when you first look at it, you go, "Oh my God, this is a big deal." And I'm like, "No, it's not." It only becomes a big deal if he doesn't play on Sunday. And the reason that they're deciding to sit him out, whatever the injury is, and I'm thinking maybe it had something to do with the flip against Kansas City, him falling on his backside or something like that.
Yeah.
Is that they know that he is the most important player on their team. So we want to make sure that he's healthy enough to play on Sunday. And you think that Lamar Jackson doesn't want to come here to Denver and face off against Teddy Bridgewater? You're losing your mind.
Oh, I know he's going to play.
Yes.
I know he's going to play. But to me, it's, I know he's going to play. And, I asked Vic Fangio about that. Do you have to prepare any differently?
Not really. I think, number one, I'm pretty damn sure he'll play. And they would run the similar offense with the other guy.
The other guy is Tyler Huntley. I think Tyler Huntley's great. He's from
He's
Utah.
a baller.
Yeah, and I'm a strange one. I love Pac-12 football. I might be the only one out there that loves Pac-12 football. But I watched a lot of Tyler Huntley. The dude is a great football player and was out there at Utah, and now he's there. And we know they really like him. In fact, there was a lot of talk about Cam Newton perhaps making sense for the Ravens, and the response that I found from that camp was, they love Tyler Huntley. He's their guy. That ain't going to happen. And so far it hasn't happened. I get it that Lamar Jackson's going to play. But, I mean, you missed 2 days as a quarterback? You missed 2 days in a row as a quarterback in practice?
It's not a big deal. See, for certain players...
How often did that happen when you were playing?
Well, it didn't happen a lot because Jake Plummer or Cutler, they were not, banged up to that point. Now, they may have been like one day, maybe that they didn't, but...
Hey, Peyton Manning had a prescribed rest day on Wednesdays in his last time, but 2 days in a row?
No, it's not a big deal because here's what we know. We know that Lamar Jackson is the linchpin for Greg Roman's offense. And even though you have Huntley there, you feel as though we still have the best opportunity with Lamar Jackson being our quarterback. So let's give him some much-needed rest. You said it yourself. Peyton Manning had the designated Wednesday. When I played...
He hated it, by the way.
Of course.
He hated it.
Peyton wants every single rep. That's why the guys never develop behind him as backups. So I get it, right? But the whole idea is that you need rest. And sometimes it's important as an organization for you to make decisions to protect your players, right? So this is what Coach Harbaugh is doing. He realizes his quarterback needs a couple more days. And we're going to give him that time to get healed up, but we're going to make sure that he is ready. There are no excuses. Mm-hmm. He's good to go against the Denver Broncos.
Hey, man, I know he's going to play. I just love the fact that he's a little bumped up. I am a huge Lamar Jackson fan, gargantuan. And 2018 draft night, anybody who was around watching our draft coverage knows how much I love Lamar Jackson. What I wanted, I was like, man, we could have had Chubb and Lamar Jackson. You didn't have to take, if you didn't want to, Josh Allen. You could have had both. You wouldn't have had Cortland Sutton. You would have probably missed out on Cortland Sutton, but you could have had Lamar Jackson and Bradley Chubb. And I was, they wouldn't know how to use them. I'm like, oh my God, please. They would have figured it out. The guy's talent is off the charts. They would have figured it out.
I don't think so.
Really?
I don't
Why?
think so. Because there is a certain stubbornness that runs rampant in
You don't
this
think
league.
VJ would have figured it out?
Well, VJ might have wanted to.
Well, he would have been the coach.
Right, but when your hands are tied as a coach, there's only so much you can do. So think about that, D-Mac.
I think VJ would have figured it out.
Of course, VJ would have figured it out, but when you are head coach in Vance's situation, just going back just a little, and you can't even pick your own staff?
No, well, that was a problem.
Right, and you can't even draft the guys that you wanted to? Who's to say that Vance did not want a Lamar Jackson, but he was vetoed? It was an override. Right?
Yeah, he had nothing to do with that. Yeah, but Vic Fangio doesn't have anything to do with it now. Vic doesn't have anything to do with it.
Vic has a lot more power now than Vance had back then.
On draft day?
Yes.
I don't know, man. What gives you that? What makes you think that?
Well, based on the fact that, one, Teddy Bridgewater is here in the first place, right? And the way that all this manifested was you had to move a piece out to move a piece in. Mm-hmm. So John Elway had to exit stage left, enter in George Payton. Now Vic Fangio's like, oh, yes, woosah, now I can finally breathe. Now I have someone who's going to give me players to give me an opportunity to win in September. And what do we have right now? We're sitting with a team that's 3-0, and they haven't been 3-0 in 2 years.
I think they look over at Vic. Hey, Vic, we're thinking about doing this. You good with it? And he goes, yes.
But at least,
basically.
But at least he was asked.
Hey, man, like Brett Rippon. The Brett Rippon thing to me is funny. Do you think Vic Fangio had anything to do? Do you think Vic Fangio was pounding the table? We can't lose Brett Rippon. We got to keep Brett Rippon. Hey, George, whatever you do, we can't lose Brett Rippon? Or do you think that was George Payton saying, no, we got to keep Brett Rippon?
I think it was more or less Pat Shurmur and George Payton saying yes. Yes, but Vic is like, man, you know what? Do whatever you want to do.
What do you need to do?
Yeah, do whatever you want.
You're good. Whatever you need.
Yes, I already had my guy.
It was funny because, but Vic has to stand up there and speak to it. It's like, well, we're down 2 guys, so we, put Brett on the 53. Like, okay, sure. By the way, and I'm not exactly sure what it was like during your day, but the whole, how it works with going from practice squad to the 53, and do you really have a choice? And, man, I've been told now back-to-back days, I've been digging around on this down at Dove Valley. Back-to-back days, I've been told Brett Rippon did have a choice. That it's not, you can't just, and I think things may have changed a little bit, Nick. But I was told back-to-back days that both those, the Texans, they knew the Texans wanted to sign him, and Brett Rippon and his people went to the Broncos, and the Broncos said, well, we want to put you on the 53, and it was up to Rippon. He could have chosen from either of those teams. And I didn't think that was the way it was. I thought the team that had your rights on practice squad kind of just, owned your rights, and they could overrule anybody trying to come and get you. But I was told back-to-back days that he did have a choice.
No, that's not how it works. You do have a choice as a player. You could stay with your current team. Now,
you could go too.
Well, you can, but here's what usually happens in that case when a guy is now being poked and prodded and trying to be pulled away from another team's practice squad, right? You know that you're going to get an elevated bonus from what you're receiving on the practice squad. But do you want to go? Because once again, it's a new city, it's a new team. I don't know anyone, right? Do I have wife and kid?
Oh, all that stuff.
Well, what happens with them?
All that stuff.
Right. So you may feel as though, well, this is a great opportunity. This is what your agent's going to tell you. It's a great opportunity, D-Mac.
I get it, but like the Texans, he would have gone in right away and been the backup. Guaranteed. In fact, you just got to, we'll see with Tyrod Taylor how bad his injury is. He could be coming back relatively soon. Deshaun Watson's not going to play down there. Nope. And you got Davis Mills. He looks like garbage. I mean, you just got to be able to beat him out. And now you could be a starter this year. You could be playing this year. You're never going to play here in Denver.
But this is the dilemma that you're faced with. You get the bump in pay. You automatically elevated to a role that you can become a starter where you're still or a backup. So this is what you and your agent are discussing. For Brett Rippon, this was the best situation for him to just stay with the Denver Broncos because you mentioned Tyrod Taylor, he's still banged up. We just watched, David Mills get his teeth kicked in by Carolina. And you're Brett Rippon, you're like, I want to go to that team and that dysfunction and be behind that offensive line. Yes, I might be a starter.
You may be playing, though.
But for how long behind that offensive line?
And it does lead me to believe that in a conversation with George Payton, Brett Rippon was promised a better future here in Denver, or not promised, but there was a path to a better future here with the Broncos than with the Texans. But that has to come, that has to come with Drew Lock hitting the highway, I would think.
Who's to say that that's not a possibility, D-Mac?
Oh, I think that's a big possibility, especially now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially now, no.
Because everyone looks at, like, Drew Lock and like, okay, well, he's a young guy. He still has more to improve on, and he'll be okay. No.
All right, we're off and rolling today. So the news is Lamar Jackson did not practice yesterday, did not practice today. Nick in for Tyler for the next couple of days, and I am sure Nick is all about benching Justin Simmons. I am sure that Alex K. of Bleacher Report isn't the only one. I mean, everybody knows Justin Simmons has to be benched, right? Well, there's another twist to this silly story, and we'll tell you the details next.
Hey guys, Tyler Columbus here to tell you about my new friends at Assignar. Colorado contractors get paid faster and save big time money with Assignar managing their construction operations. From instant crew and equipment scheduling to digital time tracking and forms, contractors using Assignar are averaging $30,000 per year in savings. Collect data from the field to make informed decisions from the office with Assignar platform and mobile app. Go to keepbuilding.com to request your free demonstration of Assignar and see how much your business can save.
Denver Sports Station 104.3 The Fan presents The Drive with Tyler Columbus and D-Mac.
Yeah, so this clown, Alex K. of Bleacher Report, wrote an article suggesting that Justin Simmons be benched immediately. Nick Ferguson in for Tyler today. And I don't know. This story is like, hey, man, I'm late writing my submission for Bleacher Report, so I'll give you 15 minutes of stupid stats from Pro Football Focus. And, I mean, it is insane. He ends it with rotating in rookie safety Caden Stearns more often could give Simmons the jolt he needs to regain his star form. He just got his 3,000-something consecutive snap streak broken only because they just stuck in all the subs. And then this whole sentiment about Justin Simmons, talk about stupid, is getting a little bit of run even on social media, saying he's the most overrated Bronco after Chubb. I don't even know if there's much to argue here, Nick, but aside from how just dumb this whole thing actually is.
Well, I don't know who Alex K. is, but I will say that he is a moron. And if he was sitting in front of me, I'd tell him that to his face and tell him.
Hey, by the way, have we tried to get out? That'd be awesome to get this dude on. I mean, that would be amazing to get on Alex K. But I would love that opportunity for you to call him a moron to his face.
Yeah, I'd love to chew him up and spit him out. That's the best thing I could do, because this whole story about Justin Simmons, and I can't believe that the fan base is so fickle that some of them have attached themselves to it to call him out, saying that he's the most overrated player outside of Bradley Chubb. This is ridiculous, because when I think about what Justin Simmons means to this team and the things that he's done, he said it himself when he signed back with the team, where people kind of criticized him and said, well, he's not that kind of physical thumper type of safety. He was like, well, that's not what they paid me for. They paid me from roaming from hash to hash, taking the ball away. And think about what we saw against the Jets. Yeah, it was against the Jets, but it was another takeaway. When you look at some of the other safeties around the league, I look at Jamal Adams, who right after Simmons got his deal, the Seahawks paid him. I mean, statistically, he's not doing a whole heck of a lot this year. You look at Eddie Jackson. I mean, you had to go all the way back to 2018 when he had 6 interceptions, because right now he doesn't have a turnover yet. In 2020, he didn't have one. So when you look at Justin Simmons, he's right where he needs to be for what this defense actually needs for him to do. And it's just a luxury of having a guy like Caden Stearns who can learn from Justin Simmons, that you put him in a game and he too gets an interception. This is not, nor should anyone look at Justin Simmons and say, well, this guy is not an adequate guy and should be viewed as being overrated. This guy still can play this game.
I'm looking at the text line. Yet you guys never call Marilat a moron for his idiocy. Love the hypocrisy. Hey, man, if you're going to call out James, you better be specific. You're ripping on my guy, Jimmy Marilat. I mean, what's your example there, man? Go ahead. Now, the thing is, it's not just about, if you want to call somebody stupid for their opinion, you got to have stuff to back you up, I think. That's why this is so dumb. Because he's got nothing. But if somebody has a reasonable opinion on something, fine. I heard you want to straighten me out on something. What's sideways here?
Well, here's what I was always wondering, D-Mac.
All right.
Why was it taking you so long to get on the Teddy Bridgewater bus train or what have you?
That's a fair question.
What was the process?
That's a fair question. Complicated, a little bit of a complicated answer, because a lot of it has nothing to do with Teddy Bridgewater. A lot of it has to do with the investment in what you put into the quarterback position. And the quarterback, so I'm even trying to leave names out of it because the names kind of don't matter. But when you decide, against my advice, Nick, to take a quarterback in the second round and then he's going to be your guy, of course I would just never ever do that. But you're taking him over a corner or an offensive lineman or an inside linebacker, whatever. A great place to take those guys. Okay, if you're going to sacrifice another position, depth on the team for that guy, you better have the courage to see it through, or you're just screwing up. So it's got nothing to do with Teddy, to be honest with you. And if you want to move on from your guy, then okay, fine, go ahead and move on for him. What crushed me on this whole thing is the plan that we're going to bring in anybody, to not support our second round guy, but to just take over for him. I don't care who it is. That to me is just a crazy waste of time going back to your second round pick in the first place. So there you go. Nothing really about Teddy. Then it was like, well, where's Drew's maturity? How has Drew improved? That sort of thing. And I thought the answer was quite a bit. But in all honesty, when I found out the details about Tracergate and he didn't have the courage to stand up to other guys and he was being basically peer pressured, bullied around, and you're the starting quarterback of the team, and I don't care if the guys are older than you. You didn't learn that lesson. You couldn't figure that out, Nick. He lost me. Lost me forever. Then I just didn't know much about Teddy Bridgewater. I didn't. I do now. And it's made all the difference in the world. So my opinion on thing has changed the more information that I get. So not only, and listen, on Drew Lock, I wish him the best. But you want to compare all the skills and the intangibles and the leadership. I question now whether Drew Lock will ever have the same things that Teddy Bridgewater. But it took me a minute to find that out. I didn't know.
Well, see,
now I know.
I wish you would have come to me.
No, I sometimes, hey man, hey.
So I can explain it to you.
Hey, you got kids. You can tell them the stove is hot. You can tell them the stove is hot a million times.
They still gonna touch it.
They may still touch it, Nick. They gotta learn for themselves.
They were intrigued. You were telling them not to do something that now they want to know, why are you telling me not to do this? Let's just see what this is. Why is this element so red? Oh, now I know. It burned the crap out of my hand. But
what can I tell you?
D-Mac, I would have been there for you.
I needed to listen, I get it. I knew how you felt about Teddy, and that's cool. And, it's not like I don't take that into consideration. What other people think of other people matters, especially when they have credibility like you do. But I needed to find some things out for myself. But listen, I think you would even admit that what Teddy has done, and it even has gone beyond what the good things were that you already knew. I mean, it really has been exceptional.
It has. And this is why I was wondering why it was taking a kind of maybe a fraction or a pocket of fans here in Broncos country still to kind of get on board with what's going on. And I'm like, just watching him move in the pocket and the improvisation, the touchdown to Albert Okwuegbunam, rolling to his right, going
let's
back
keep
to
it
KJ
real.
Hamler.
Their red zone offense was absolutely terrible with the Panthers. It was, there's something going wrong that this is his 5th team that he's on, and, he's only 28 years old. It's not like there was a massive injury, a terrible injury that he had to overcome. I mean, there were reasonable doubts about what's going on. Why were the Panthers wanting to move on for him for Sam Darnold? I mean, what was that all about? Why didn't Minnesota? Why were they so quick to move on from him for Kirk Cousins?
Because of injury.
Well, okay, fine. But these are reasonable sort of, doubts.
I mean, they're reasonable. They're justifications. And if you kind of poked and kind of sift through all of it, you'll find that it's a bunch of bullcrap.
All right, fine.
Yes.
Hey, man, you get to stand on the mountaintop waving the flag at the end of the day. So no problem. I'm happy to convert at this point. And I am such a big Teddy Bridgewater fan at this point. I'm having a hard time still getting over the Justin Fields stuff. I'm not going to lie.
Why?
Well, because you could have done both. You could have had Teddy Bridgewater, your starter, be awesome. And there we go, young man Justin Fields sitting right there. And, Justin, like Mahomes, is the future. Could be the future because we're not sure about Teddy Bridgewater. And by the way, you want to talk about first world problems? How about Teddy Bridgewater is so good that your first round quarterback, Justin Fields, is just, trade bait at the end of the day, and you really don't need him, and you can deal him for somebody else. And what have you lost out on? A cornerback, Patrick Surtain, who's super good, but you could get a cornerback in the 2nd or 3rd round. You could do that. And who are you giving up then? Quinn Miners? I mean, really? Are we that bummed that we're losing out on Quinn Miners?
But here's my idea of what kind of happened with that situation, because...
Well, hold that thought. Let's dig into it. But I love this. Nick, we can talk about quarterbacks all day as far as I'm concerned. My number one favorite thing to talk about?
Quarterbacks.
Oh, my God. Yes. I love it. I could do it nonstop, and we'll continue next.
It's The Drive with Tyler Columbus and D-Mac on Denver Sports Station 104.3 The Fan.
Nick Ferguson in for Tyler for the next couple of days. Nick, it's good to have you here.
Glad to be sitting in. And here's why I wanted to continue on this particular point, so I can make sure that I kind of got all of this off my chest. When I look at Justin Fields and the whole idea, the concept that the Broncos should have taken him, it would have been great to have both he and Teddy Bridgewater. That would have been the ideal situation.
Justin Fields.
Yeah, Justin Fields.
Yes, absolutely.
That would have been the ideal situation.
That would have been perfect.
But because there were still other hands in the pot, right? And some of those hands did not want, in my speculation, Fields here, because to me that removes Drew Lock from the quarterback equation.
Yeah, they weren't quite sure. The Broncos weren't quite sure about Teddy. I mean, come on. There's no doubt the Broncos weren't quite sure about Teddy. I mean, they didn't do the deal until the day before the draft. The Panthers are paying twice as much as the Broncos for Teddy right now.
That's a great deal for the Broncos.
Right. And the Broncos didn't take Justin Fields or Mac Jones because there was enough of a belief in Drew Lock. And they knew everything about Tracergate with Drew Lock, which wasn't a great moment, obviously, and put them in the most embarrassing position in franchise history. So there was enough about Drew Lock that I think that was actually legit. And I think the 50-50 competition thing, I really don't think it was 50-50. I actually think Teddy had the advantage from the beginning. But Drew certainly didn't blow him away. And I thought for a while it was 50-50, meaning if everything was even, it would go in Drew's favor. No, I think it's the exact opposite, actually. I think Drew did have to blow him away to get everybody's confidence. So, hey, man, you learn things as you go. But there was enough good things about Drew Lock that they didn't take Justin Fields. It was a mistake. But maybe, hopefully, knock on wood, it's a minor mistake. I mean, Nick, at this point, at this point, what we should all root for is that Teddy really is the guy at 28. He is going to have a Ryan Tannehill-like resurgence because he's in the best situation. He's healthy. And let's go.
Okay.
Why shouldn't we all root for that?
No, I would definitely root for that, especially looking at where we've been over the past couple of years after Peyton Manning, just quarterback bloodthirsty. Just give us someone. Give us a guy. Just take a guy in the first round.
Well, I mean, it's not just anybody. I mean, it was Justin Fields. I mean, Justin Fields. Were you down on Justin Fields?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I was on the fence between Fields and PS2. And I just tried to think about, okay, well, what seems to be the best thing for the Denver Broncos if they could get a veteran quarterback that they were confident in and was competent enough to lead the team, then you could go in that direction, giving you a little more time with your quarterback situation to make a logical and a fair decision, knowing as though you're facing teams like the Chargers and you're facing Kansas City. You're going to need DBs, and you just can't go out and just get one off the street and say, go cover Travis Kelce.
But you can get DBs that are great in the second, third round and in free agency. And they did. They had already done, they had done that. They got Fuller and Darby in free agency. They had Ojemudia. I guess we found out what they thought about him a little bit, and they had Callahan too. I mean, they were in a good position, Nick, to get a cornerback in the second or third round. Justin Simmons was a third round guy. I mean, it wasn't crazy to think that that's what you could do. They obviously love Javonte Williams. That is pretty clear. So they seem to be set in stone. They moved up to get him. We know that now. They really had their eyes on Javonte Williams. So that's fine.
You can go get a safety in the third or fourth round. But when you're talking about premier corners, you're not getting the premier corner in the second and the third round.
I get it, but you could have also done that in the 2022 draft. You did get two, free agents in those positions. You could have gone after a premier guy in the 2022 draft.
But you could have
theoretically, we're all set. You had Darby and Fuller.
You could have done that, but you're still asking the question. Would Fangio survive to the 2022 season? Probably not.
You're assuming Fangio had a say in all this.
Well, yeah, I'm assuming that he did.
No way.
What?
No way.
Yes, I truly believe that he had more of a say in what was going on with that first pick than you think he did.
I think he had a vote and a voice, but it wasn't like, it was a vote, a voice. It wasn't the vote, the voice. I think they love Patrick Surtain, rightfully so. No doubt about it. Let's be honest. They thought they were going to get Aaron Rodgers. That's what they thought was going to happen. What's the Broncos' record right now? They had Aaron Rodgers. Probably 3-0, right?
You know what?
I mean, come on, man.
Wait. Let's be totally honest. Let's really dissect that because I can't say yes based on what I've seen with the Packers and Aaron Rodgers thus far. I can't really say that.
I think here's what I think we saw with Aaron Rodgers. He wasn't real prepared when the season started. He got embarrassed, and then he got his act together. And I think a motivated Aaron Rodgers, a prepared Aaron Rodgers, is the league MVP, which he was. So, hey, man, I bought into it too. Trust me. He ticked me off plenty. I was ready to bury him in his man bun, and I call him a turd a million times. And then he got ticked off. He got focused. He did. He got focused. He got motivated. He's great. So now you come down the line, and that is going to be. I know it's going to be because they're never going. Here's what's going to happen, Nick. They're never going to give Teddy a deal during the season. They're not. They're going to see what the market is for Aaron Rodgers to get him here. And then it's going to come down to a decision. Do we give up what we need to give up to get Aaron Rodgers because it's still a trade, or do we pay Teddy? I think that's what it's going to come down to.
Well,
we'll see.
I'm not George Payton, but here's what I would suggest that the Broncos do. I love the idea of having a guy like Aaron Rodgers here, but I don't like the idea of giving up so much draft capital to get him. You still can remain competitive and get your quarterback for the future. Here's how you do it. If this team goes to the playoffs, I say you extend Teddy Bridgewater, right? Now, you still go out and you...
I'm sorry, wait, at what point again? I'm sorry. At what point do you extend Teddy Bridgewater?
I'll say if this team is trending in the direction of going to the playoffs...
Well, okay. Then, what is that specifically, though?
Well, you want a certain game or...
Certain game or certain record.
Okay, give me what's week 9. Who's the opponent week 9?
At Dallas.
Okay. So, and
Dude, we can do this real quick. Win or loss against Baltimore, real quick.
Win.
4-0 at Pittsburgh.
Win.
5-0 host in Vegas.
Win.
6-0. You sure you're waiting to week 9? At Cleveland. Loss. Just give them a loss there, just for fun. 6-1. Home against Washington.
Win.
7-1.
Now you start thinking about it.
It's 7-1.
Now you start thinking about it.
7-1. Hell yeah, you 7-1.
Yes, you start thinking about it.
7-1, of course.
And here's the great thing about it.
7-1. Teddy Bridgewater's not even talking to you at 7-1.
Hey,
he's like, hey, you had a shot, man. I'll see you when I see you.
No, he's not going to do that. He's going to be
7-1. Teddy's looking at $30 million a year at 7-1.
I'm doing well here with the Denver Broncos. I want to stay here. I like what's going on. They decided to give him a 2-year deal, and they can go
2-year deal worth what at 7-1?
I don't know.
$80 million?
You don't even have to give him $80 million.
Well, he's going to get that on the open market then. I mean, he's not going to get 80. He's going to get 60 for 2.
Okay,
like that.
Well, then you take that, right? Because now you look at some of what the quarterbacks are making right now. To me, that's kind of a drop in the bucket.
No kidding.
Right.
So the longer you wait on this, the more expensive it's going to be. And by the way, who's to say Teddy's going to want to, stick around? 7-1, he is going to get paid.
I would say that Teddy would want to stick around because you have to look around the league. Those other quarterback jobs are filled, are they not? We just had a young proper quarterback come in.
What's Washington going to do next year? I mean, there's going to be a bunch of teams that would be salivating for a 7-1 quarterback like Teddy Bridgewater. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, they'll be salivating, but the Broncos and George Payton get that deal done by week 8.
Well, hopefully.
Right?
If you don't, if you're 7-1, oh my God. You're going to, at Dallas, let's just say it's a loss, okay? 7-2, host Philadelphia, win. Hosting you're 8-2. You're 8-2 at the bye.
You're
8-2?
That's a perfect time to try to get a deal done, is it not?
Yeah, but if I'm Teddy, I don't know, man. Have we been talking? Now you love me? You get a bye, the Chargers, win or loss against the Chargers.
This is the first Chargers matchup, right?
Yeah.
Is it home or away?
Home.
Victory.
All right, 9-2. Let's just say you lose to Kansas City. Hang in there with me. 9-3. You're going to kill Detroit, 10-3. Cincinnati, you'll squeak out a win, 11-3. Now you're in the playoffs, easy. At Vegas, we'll just give them a loss. At the Chargers, we'll give them a loss, 11-5. And then they'll beat Kansas City at home.
Yeah,
they're going to beat Kansas City.
The deal is done.
So you're 12-5, you're in the playoffs.
The deal is done. And because you like to talk about quarterbacks, right? How about instead of giving up all that draft capital for Aaron Rodgers, you just say the Broncos are performing so well, so they're dropping down the board, right? But they want to move back up to select a quarterback. They give up maybe small amount of draft capital, maybe first and second, and they're able to move up and get Cincinnati Bearcats quarterback Desmond Ridder. Now you got your quarterback.
What round?
Well, let's say they moved up in the first round to get it.
That'd be a move.
Yes.
That'd be a move.
You've given up minimum draft capital.
And
you still get your backup quarterback, who's your potential starter for the future.
But maybe that's Brett Rippon.
Maybe it's Brett Rippon.
12-5. We're
no, it's not Brett Rippon.
We're tripping daisies at 12-5 around here. We're talking about Super Bowls. We're booking trips to LA at 12-5. Are you kidding me? 12-5? Hope so.
Yes.
Hope so.
And then now you got your quarterback. If you're
ready to pay him $30 million a year, you got your quarterback. You pay the piper.
You get Teddy, plus you get your backup quarterback.
We're not even worried about backups at that point. Are you kidding me? All right, something happened last night. I suspected something was going to happen, and it did happen, and it deserves some attention. Details on that next.
You're listening to The Drive with Tyler Columbus and D-Mac on Denver Sports Station 104.3 The Fan.
Ferguson in for Tyler for the next couple of days. Good to have you here, Nick. We'll get through all the news of the day out at Valley. The Lamar Jackson situation is interesting to say the least. But I just want to go to a sort of a bigger topic here, Nick. And it surrounds what we may have seen last night with Trevor Story. Now, I was sitting there, Nick. I'm a big baseball guy, and I knew that the Rockies had made a mistake with the Nolan Arenado contract. It did not make sense. It was like, you remember when the Broncos paid big money for Emmanuel and DT at the same time? It's like, okay, like they're both great. I mean, I understand it, but man, that is a slippery slope when you go big money on wide receivers. You know, it's just a little out of whack. And when you're paying big money, and we all love Nolan Arenado, no doubt about it, but he is a third baseman. It's like, hey man, you went to the World Series with Garrett Atkins. Who? Right. I love him, but you know. What years were you here, by the way? What years? I'm terrible with the years, but what years were you with the Broncos?
2003 to 2008.
Okay. Well, you were here in 07 then, man. You were here when the Rockies went to the World Series.
Yes.
Garrett Atkins was the third baseman on the Rockies when you were here. There is no way on God's green earth you knew that. There's no way.
No.
I wouldn't expect you to know. I wouldn't expect really anybody to know it. But you probably know other guys from that team. You probably have heard of Todd Helton, right?
Yes.
Probably pretty familiar with Troy Tulowitzki.
Mm-hmm.
But you probably never heard of Garrett Atkins. And it's cool, man. I mean, I know why. Because he's a third baseman. But everybody knows Nolan Arenado. Of course everybody knows Nolan Arenado. But they went crazy, dude. And the Broncos been crazy with DT and Emmanuel. And what ended up happening to both those guys, man? They both got traded.
Yeah, but this is a little different, like, with what's going on with Trevor Story.
Right.
I mean,
I agree.
You've been here for, 10-plus years, and all you've been trying to do is get this team to a point where they can win a championship. And as a player, you feel a little deflated once things come to an end that you were not able to bring a title to a town that you have played so long for.
Well, I just know positionally, man, you should, for example, in football, you know what, Nick? You really should pay your quarterback a lot of money. Why? Because you want one of those guys. We should want to be paying our quarterback $30 million a year, Nick, because that means we got a really good quarterback. You should be paying your shortstop a lot of money in baseball. It's just one of those positions. It's one of those guys, Nick, that you just got to have. And as much as I love Nolan, I do love Nolan. To me, if you're going to pay a dude a lot of money to build your team up, you got to have a shortstop. That's got to be your dude. And I've just been sitting here just like, all right, you know, you didn't trade him. You got him. Let's see it through. Let's go. Come on. We can keep him, because I'm rooting for the best thing. And then yesterday, for the last home game, likely of his career, he runs out on the field by himself. That's the players doing that, Nick. That's not an organization. That's not the coach saying that. That's the players saying, hey, Trevor, take a moment. He ran out to the field by himself.
Just think about how emotional that must have been for him.
Of course, man.
To know that, hey, man, the die's been cast already. This is my last home game in front of these fans. And it's so emotional. Here's what I go back to this. Remember when Nolan was traded to the Cardinals and we had to sit there and listen to Jeff Bridich and Dick Monfort kind of explain to how did we get to this point? And also, well, we can't really go out and get the guys like Garrett Cole. That's not the market that we're in to bring those type of guys here. And I was just like, that's a bunch of crap. What are you really selling to this fan base? Right? Well, we're not really trying to win championships. We're just trying to play some games because we own a franchise, a Major League Baseball franchise. But we're not really doing everything that we can to actually bring a title to the city of Colorado.
They are still scarred by the Mike Hampton, Denny Nagel deal like 20 years ago when they brought in two big-time free agent pitchers and it busted out on them. So, plus, why would Garrett Cole ever want to come here? Why would any top pitcher ever want to come to Colorado? I mean, they're just...
Coors Field is not the best part for them.
It's not even just Coors Field. It's like Coors Field and leaving Coors Field, going someplace at sea level and coming back. It's like a combination. You got to home grow those guys. You got to. That's why Kyle Freeland, John Gray, Marquez, you got to grow those guys from the ground up. But get those guys.
I get.
But you can hire the closers and the middle relief.
You can grow those guys and develop your farm league, but still, just tell me. I mean, is it enough? Is it enough to put the Rockies to a point where they're a relevant baseball team? I say no.
Well, they went to the playoffs 2 years in a row, and they, lost in the playing game, then they beat the Cubs in a playoff game, and then they couldn't score runs against the Brewers. That was just a couple years ago. But that being said, I always thought Trevor Story was a core guy, and I still was trying to be optimistic, but then I see him run out to the field by himself, and then I hear this.
Do you feel like it's pretty much set that you won't be back?
Well, like I've said, we're not counting anybody out. That's really as simple as I put it. And that's kind of where I'll leave that. So, that's, like I said, I've really enjoyed my time here. This is a special place. This is a special city.
That's it.
The fans deserve, a winning team here in a winning town in a championship. So, like I said, that's as simple as I can put it is, we're not worried about that right now. And, no one's out of the picture right now.
Well, see you later.
That's basically it.
Dude, when you start talking in the past tense, and then it gets like all emotional, like we start crying.
Those guys are special players, and I think special people too. And I think, both are very important in this game. And Mac is just one of the all-time, guys I've ever played with. And, B-Rod's so talented, and, he can be such an impact player, and, he's well on his way to doing that. So, it's hard for me to talk about those guys, but yeah, they're going to carry on, their own tradition and do their own thing, and, have their own legacy to be had.
Well, see you later. When you start crying and saying goodbye to fellas and talking about yourself in the past tense, it's pretty clear what's about to happen.
Well, what was it? Was it not clear a long time ago, even though I know?
I don't know, Nick. I hold out hope. I hope for the best. I hope things can get done. I hope things can change.
Hope and hype. Get rid of it.
You gotta have, I guess it's Brendan Rodgers, which, he was a first-round draft pick, and I agree. Ryan McMahon, I'm a huge fan of. I guess. There you go. Those are the two dudes. But it's like, they're not Trevor Story. They're not Trevor Story.
You know why Trevor was he was getting choked up and he was almost on the verge of tears. You know why?
Because he's about to make so much money he can't believe it.
That too, but
I'd get emotional too if I knew I was going to make $50 million next year.
He was shedding tears for the guys who still have to stay here while he leaves because he's going to chase a pennant, a championship, while they still have to deal with just being part of the Rockies organization who's not going to win anything.
All right. Goodbye, Trevor. I was holding out hope. I was trying to be optimistic, but it's clear. It's clear. I get it. It's clear. He's gone. And I'm grateful. I loved watching him. He's just one of my favorite guys. Nolan was one of my favorite guys too, but I realized you probably have to choose. So I didn't think you'd choose nothing.
But is that not the Rockies organization?
Oh my God. I guess it is.
Yes.
I guess it is.
That's what it is.
So frustrating. All right. Let's get to the news of the day. The big story of the day is getting ready for the Ravens, and Lamar Jackson is missing practice 2 days in a row. A big deal. We'll get to it next.
Hey guys, Tyler Polumbus here to tell you about my new friends at Sinar. Colorado contractors get paid faster and save big time money with Sinar managing their construction operations. From instant crew and equipment scheduling to digital time tracking and forms, contractors using Sinar are averaging $30,000 per year in savings. Collect data from the field to make informed decisions from the office with the Sinar platform and mobile app. Go to keepbuilding.com to request your free demonstration of Sinar and see how much your business can save.